had to sleep with my brother to show my parents that he was with me. It all started when I stuck my head under my chest. He kept challenging me to climb an old treehouse, which I eventually did just to realize that he could see under my balcony as I climbed up. I yelled at him to stop looking and he acted like I was disgusting for thinking he was looking. The whole situation was super weird, so I just let it go and never mentioned anything about it again. A few months later, I caught him looking at my photos on my cell phone. Of course, there was a big fight and my parents got involved. He told them he was trying to delete an ugly picture I had taken of him. Somehow, my parents saw the situation as we were both wrong. I had nothing outrageous there, but it just seemed so bad that he was looking at my pictures. 2 years later, when we were moving into a new house, my brother and I discovered that we would share the same bathroom. My brother acted upset, but I could see the smile on his face. He never knocked on the door when I was in the shower. Instead, he was just trying to see if the door was locked. It never happened. I forgot to close the door when he forced his way in. Fortunately, I was still dressed. I told my parents about this, and instead of a solution being that he should knock on the door, the solution was that I should use the guest bathroom downstairs. Just when I thought it couldn't get worse, it got worse. A few nights ago, after a family barbecue, I went back to my room and realized that the pants I had changed before they all arrived were out of the laundry basket and on the floor. When I got up to do the laundry the next morning, I realized that the underwear I was wearing with those pants was gone. I wanted to paint my brother's name and enter his room furiously, but it would be useless. The idea of confronting him for that and his trying to manipulate me again was so exhausting that it simply said nothing. I knew my younger brother was the culprit, but I had no concrete evidence, and I was sure that if I confronted him or told my parents, he would just try to manipulate me again and make me feel crazy as I suspected. A few days later, I noticed some of my bright pink and orange thongs were missing from my dresser, but this time I said nothing and acted like I didn't know anything. The next part of my plan was a little clever. Now you can check if there is a part 2 by pressing share and more. Update: I had to sleep with my brother to show my parents that he was with me. As I suspected, a few days later I noticed that some of my bright pink and orange panties were missing from my dresser. But this time, I didn't say anything and acted like I didn't know anything. The next part of my plan was a bit stealthy. I was thinking about how to get him to creep in on me or something so I could record it and show it to my parents. Then I decided something. My parents were going to another town for the wedding party of 2 of their friends. That day would be perfect to put the plan into action. Then that day came. I thought of all the ways to provoke it, and the most effective way I found was to pretend I was using the bathroom and stay in there wearing only the bottom of the bikini, hoping he would invade as he always does. As expected, he came in breaking the door as usual. But I didn't expect the reaction he had. He stood by looking at me as if he wanted to pounce on me, just as the wolf looks at his prey in defense, but at the same time with a frightened expression. This time I did something defense. I didn't scream, I didn't walk away, I didn't make a fuss. I did stare him in the eye with a tantalizing expression. I smiled and asked him, "Didn't like with us?" He was again frightened and said clearly, "I always waited for this vision." By this time, I knew my plan was going to work. Update 2. I had to sleep with my brother to show my parents that he was with me. At this point, I had to stay calm and stick to the plan. I knew any sudden reaction could ruin everything. I told him to wait there and went to get my phone, pretending I needed to show him something. My heart was pounding, but I kept my cool. When I returned, I held up my phone and acted like I was about to take a picture. He panicked and tried to grab it, but I pulled back and said, "Why are you so scared? If you're not doing anything wrong, what's the problem?" He looked cornered and didn't know how to respond. I decided to push it further. "You know, I could tell Mom and Dad about this, but they never seem to believe me," I said, putting on a frustrated face. "How about we make a deal? You stay out of my room and my things, and I won't tell anyone about today. And stop acting so creepy. Got it?" He nodded, clearly shaken. I left the bathroom and locked myself in my room, still feeling a mix of fear and triumph. I knew I had to get real evidence if I wanted my parents to take me seriously. So I set up a small camera in my room, hidden behind some books on my shelf. If he tried anything again, I have proofs. Over the next few days, I noticed a change in his behavior. He seemed more cautious, and I felt a bit safer. One night, I checked the camera footage and saw him sneaking into my room, rummaging through my things. I had the evidence I needed. The next morning, I calmly showed the footage to my parents. They were shocked and finally realized I wasn't making things up. My brother got grounded and had to go to therapy, and I finally felt like my voice was being heard. It wasn't easy, but standing up for myself was worth it. I learned that sometimes, you have to go the extra mile to protect yourself and make sure the truth comes out. Update: a few months passed, and things started to feel normal again. My brother was still going to therapy, and our parents were paying more attention to both of us. I felt safer, but I never let my guard down. Then something unexpected happened. One evening, while I was home alone, I heard a loud crash from downstairs. My parents were out of town for the weekend, and my brother was supposed to be at a friend's house. My heart raced as I grabbed my phone and quietly made my way down the stairs, ready to call 911 if needed. When I reached the bottom, I saw the front door wide open and my brother standing there, looking panicked and holding a shattered vase. "What are you doing here?" I demanded, trying to keep my voice steady. He stammered, "I forgot something and came to get it," but I slipped and knocked over the vase. I didn't believe him for a second. You're supposed to be at your friend's house. What did you come here for? I asked, stepping closer. He looked around nervously, avoiding my gaze. I swear, I just needed to grab something from my room, he insisted. Fine, I said, deciding to play along. Let's go see what you need so badly. We walked upstairs together, and I noticed he kept glancing at my room. When we reached his room, he quickly grabbed a hoodie from his bed. See? Just this, he said, trying to sound casual. But I wasn't convinced. You don't need to lie to me. I know you're up to something, I said, standing my ground. Suddenly, we heard a noise from my room. My heart dropped. I ran to my room and found the window wide open, the curtains fluttering in the breeze. Someone had been in my room. I turned to my brother, anger boiling inside me. Who was here? What did you do? He looked genuinely terrified. I don't know. I swear I don't know. He pleaded. Realizing I needed more help, I called my parents and told them everything. They rushed home immediately, and we called the police to report the break-in. The police found footprints leading away from the house but couldn't identify who they belonged to. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about who could have been in my room and why. The next morning, my parents installed new locks and a security system. They also hired a private investigator to look into the break-in and my brother's strange behavior. Weeks later, the investigator came back with shocking news. The person who had broken in was an old friend of my brother's who had been trying to get back at him for something that happened years ago. My brother had no idea this person was targeting him, but it explained his weird behavior and paranoia. With this new information, my brother and I started to rebuild our relationship. He apologized for everything he had put me through, and I could see he was genuinely trying to change. It took time, but we eventually got to a place where we could trust each other again. My parents were more attentive, and our family felt stronger than ever. In the end, I learned that standing up for yourself and seeking the truth is always worth it, even when it's hard.